Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by The Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
Blackout Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Jay Targaryen. I'm here with Slav, Gonzo, OJ. Now, let's just get right to it. Lucas Giolito gave us a dazzling fucking start tonight. 6 shutout innings, scattered 3 walks, 7 Ks. Like, he was absolutely fucking brilliant. Again, this is the second time I come on this show and I open you guys up after a Lucas Giolito masterpiece. The Yankees, they were coming in. They were fucking swinging hot bats. And Lucas put the fire out. Absolutely made Stanton look like a child. Absolutely made Donaldson look like a child. Guys, I'm fired up. Now, I'm not a Lucas Giolito guy, but I celebrate Lucas Giolito's success. And I was very pleased with his outing tonight. Very pleased.
It's a shame he only went 6 innings because he had 99 pitches. They had a good shot of Pedro Grifol in the dugout, kind of talking to him after basically telling him, you're not going back out for the 7th. I'll give Giolito credit. He's got that bulldog mentality on the mound. Like, he wants the ball. He doesn't care if he has to throw 150 and go full Edwin Jackson. He did walk 3 guys. He struck out 7. But something about, Yankee Stadium and White Sox pitchers finding a rhythm. You remember that outing last year from Kopech? Probably one of the better, more dominant, kind of spurts
on
we
national
saw from him.
television too. That's
right, on ESPN. What does this do for Lucas Giolito's trade value? That's what I want to know. Is this they got a big decision to make with him, and I don't really know what I think. We all think it's very unlikely that Giolito is back with the White Sox next season. But man, they're going to have a tough decision on their hands. Do you trade him? Do you let him walk? Do you give him a qualifying offer? Do you ride it out? Big choice to make.
He's actually, when you're looking at Giolito, one of the things I like about Giolito, meaning he's not my type of pitcher, meaning I'm not a guy that dies over Giolito, but he's like a Javier Vasquez 500 guy. He's way better than 50% of the league when it comes to pitching. He's healthy, okay? One thing that he has been with the White Sox is healthy. He hasn't had long stints of arm issues, falling. We're looking at the DeGrom situation of that fiasco of $47 million down the drain. Tommy John, guys pitched 18 outings in the last 3 years. So when you look at a guy like Giolito and his numbers actually start becoming very interesting with what's available on the free agent market. Giolito mixed the 3 pitches very well today, which is done really good this year. 46 four-seam fastballs, 20 changeups, 34 sliders. It's a great mix of pitches, meaning you're not relying on one pitch to get batters out. He's relying on his defense. And just last month, the worst outing that he had was just 4 earned runs. And it looks horrible because the times that he has done that, his offense has been pathetic.
Dead. It's been dead.
It's been dead. So when you're looking at 4 earned runs or less in this time in the game of baseball, 1980 is a different story. But 4 earned runs for 6 to 7 innings, it's actually a very good average. So Lucas Giolito is doing his part. Number 1, to get paid. Number 2, to become great trade bait. So he's making it very hard for the Chicago White Sox of, do we move for this guy or do we ride him out, try to get him a qualifying offer, or try to extend him and keep him here long term, because let's be honest, Lucas Giolito fits very well into the Chicago White Sox mantra. What he believes off the field, the feel-good guy with the fans. He is a Chicago White Sox guy. He fits really well in the organization. Let's be honest about that. So he's making it very interesting, because my whole thing was Lucas does not pitch well. Move him. Someone's going to take him because he's got so much upside. But now looking at it and looking at the market, it's getting very interesting because he keeps getting better and better as the start half. And even if he is average, okay, even if he doesn't have to climb the ceiling of being a top 5 young guy, top 5 side young guy, if Lucas does this, and he is going to be worth the money that he will be paid.
Gonzo, here's my question to Gonzo. The White Sox now sit here 4.5 games back in this god-awful division. What message would it send your fan base if you did decide to trade Lucas Giolito with a chance to still win this division?
That's a good question.
Waving the Venezuelan flag. That's the white flag.
White flag. I need a white flag.
Which it frustrates me because I want to trade Gio, but at the same time, I know if they do that, you're going to get a lot of White Sox Twitter saying, "Why didn't you?" They go right back to what we didn't do with Carlos Rodon, offering the qualifying offer. But I feel like this is two different situations because you got to think the last 2 years, Giolito's been on a regression. So you got to ask yourself, as an average pitcher, is he worth that qualifying offer money that he's going to get? To me, I think you can definitely put him in a package to trade him to get a better arm for the future. At the same time, you can put a little bit more money into getting average pitchers too of that same caliber for maybe cheaper. But again, I want to trade him, but I know that's not the norm for what people would want. I think a lot of people are going to start tweaking, like you said, Slav, and start waving the white flag. But in my ideal world, I think, and I know me and OJ, we talked about this a month ago, I feel like you can retool and still compete if you're doing it the right way. Then again, I don't know if we can trust Han to do so, to retool.
What's the qualifying offer? So
I'm proud of you, Gonzo.
Gonzo, what's the qualifying offer for Giolito? What's the number?
So I think me in the pre-show, Slav and I were thinking that it's going to be $19-20 million range, and the compensatory, Slav, was at 4th round.
I think it was
Which is not
if the comp was like Chris Bassett and I think DeGrom, both the comp picks were after the 4th round. So
not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's like, okay, do you trust the front office and scouting department to draft well enough to make that a worthwhile prospect? If you do trade him, like, what's the return going to be for a rental? Because more than likely, no matter what happens, Giolito's going to want to test the free agent market and sign a longer term contract. And, you know, this is his one chance really probably in his career to get paid. So it's
how much money is he getting in the open market? So here's my question when I'm looking at that. Again, there's two things that I think White Sox fans don't take into consideration enough. Lucas Giolito likes Chicago. Okay, he likes the White Sox, likes whatever, good culture or bad culture, he likes it here. Okay, so you're already like dating this pitcher. You're already taking him out. Like, so the conversation with him should be very. I'm hoping that if the White Sox have not been trying to sign Lucas Giolito and trying to work out a deal, then means that you should trade him. Like if you have no desire of having him in here, package him, let him walk, trade him. But if you do want to sign him, I hope that those conversations are happening. And believe it or not, I haven't heard one rumor of any conversations of they're trying to sign him. This is, Lucas, denied a contract offer. I've never heard anything from that end. But if they do want to sign him, they should do it try to have that conversation as early as possible. Because if he goes into free agency, compared to other pitchers, how are the White Sox? They're usually not the team to win in a bidding war. Every time they've gone in a bidding war versus another team, even when they've offered more money, they have lost. So what makes you think that they're going to land Urias and whoever else is available there by giving them more money? It's not. It usually doesn't end well for the White Sox when you're in a competition for a player at the end of the day. So if you do want Lucas, I think you get him before he even goes out there and maybe overpay your guy to just stay here and be like making him happy. That's just my take on it, because if you do want Lucas compared to what's out there from a pitching standpoint, my number one thing that I think it's a big difference between him and Rondon, with all due respect to Carlos Rondon, he was a IL his half of his career with the Chicago White Sox. So that it was not worth the risk in my opinion. Lucas is not that guy. So if Lucas goes and gets hurt afterwards, it's like, well, they didn't really have that track record. You have to take that chance because of his health. So that's why I think he's so attractive to so many teams. But if the White Sox want him, they need to get him before he goes out there and starts dating and making himself available. Because if not, he's gonna cost a lot more than I think he is now.
And I'm going to say that neither qualifying offers are going to be worth it in Rodon nor Giolito. But at the same time, going into next season, I would definitely try to get whatever value I can out of Lance Lynn and probably Clevenger too. But I definitely want to get the most I can out of Giolito at this trade deadline, because those three pitchers are going to be gone next year. And you only have two guys in your rotation right now for 2024 in Cease and Kopech. So what I would love to do, this would be unbelievably ideal, but if you can trade TA and Giolito to the Dodgers, because Dustin May is on the 60-day IL.
I thought you were going to say for Dustin May. I was like,
no.
what?
No. But
damn.
TA and Giolito, if you can get a package of possibly Bobby Miller, Vargas, and that rushing their second prospected catcher, that'd be an unbelievable deal with two guys ready in the majors already, and then one prospect at a catcher that would be your leading catcher for next year. That'd be three needs, and ultimately that'd be the third guy in your rotation for 2024 with Bobby Miller, and then you only have to get two more guys, and that would mean that you would save that money for TA on like a guy like Nola or Urias to be a guy up end in your rotation, and then you only have to get another Clevenger guy as your fifth guy, or you bring up whoever, or if you're going to slide Crochet back into the starting rotation, there's your five. So,
man, if this was MLB The Show, the White Sox would be really great next year with that plan.
You'd have to pull it off, but I would wonder what it would take for that package of three, because I don't know how the Dodgers value TA to begin with. So,
just for reference, Giolito now with an ERA right around 4. Actually, it might have come under 4 after tonight's outing. He'll be 29 in a month, in 5 weeks exactly. He's going to be a free agent at 29. For a comparison, Chris Bassett got 3 years, $63 million from the Jays as a 33-year-old free agent this past winter. I would think at best like 575 to 5,100 on the very, very high end if he has a great second half for Giolito. That type of contract, I don't think the White Sox are going to give it to him. So it's definitely an interesting predicament that Rick Hahn and company will be in. So that's off the top of the show. Interesting from Giolito. Sox have won 4 games in a row. They're 4.5 game out in this doo-doo AL Central. They're back. So Giolito himself was a very highly touted prospect, drafted by the Nats a long time ago now, it feels like. And we're going to get into some more prospect talk here coming up. We have a special guest on this evening's episode, and that brings us to Blackout Live. So who is the next Lucas Giolito for the Chicago White Sox? For that, we bring in Daniel Victor into the show. White Sox minor league hype man, officially Daniel Victor. Daniel, thanks for joining us on the Blackout Show.
Thank you, gentlemen. Been a long time coming. Glad to be here.
So the guy that everyone was talking about on Twitter this week, specifically Noah Schultz, this year's first-round pick from the White Sox, big lefty, made his minor league debut after what was the injury that he had?
I don't want to say it, but it was a forearm strain.
Oh, never want to hear anything about that. What was your biggest takeaway? He only pitched 2 innings. I think it was 28 total pitches. Big, tall lefty, but it was pretty impressive stuff.
It was more than impressive. It was insane. I don't like to get hyped up over 2 innings because anybody can have 2 incredible innings. But he came in, I've been talking about him for a long time because I did a draft review last season, and I talked to JJ Lally, the scout that brought him into the fold. And, JJ was hyping him up. And talking to a scout is a lot like talking to a guy's parent, they have a vested interest in his success. So you want to believe what you're hearing. I mean, but the guy is also, not only is he like a parent in his positivity, but he's also, putting his name on the line when they sign a kid for a couple $1 million. So, JJ was telling me incredible things about what he thought of Mr. Schultz. And I got to say, what I saw, everything he said was true. I mean, he told me that this kid could have a 80 grade fastball, a 70 grade slider, and a 60 grade change. I mean, when you got a pitch mix like that, those guys are Hall of Famers if they can stay healthy. And, and then he said, if he saw it as maybe even just 370s, if something doesn't turn into the 80 grade with the fastball. But he's 6'9". He's very long and lean. He's got the sail build, but he's only 19, so he doesn't even have the the college muscle on him yet. The arms are pretty spindly, but I watched him come out of the dugout. I wanted to get there early and take a look at how he carried himself. And I watched him walk out and do his warming up and his stretching. And he was messing with his belt over and over and over. And I said, oh, the kid's nervous. He just keeps screwing around. It's like a tick or something. And I asked him about it 2 days later when I saw him. And he told me there was a wardrobe malfunction and there was a button on his pants that was bothering him and he couldn't straighten it out. But I thought it was nervousness, So I asked him if he had some butterflies, and he said that he, a little bit. But one thing the scouts also told me about him was they really lauded him for he said he doesn't let a situation pressure him. They said it's like a walk in the park for him, and it really was. He came out first inning, first pitch, right down the middle, 96. Tried to get the same pitch by the guy on the second one, and he slapped it in the left field it was a pretty weak double, but it was a double nonetheless. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. A kid's on a 35 pitch limit or 2 innings. And I'm thinking that, Tanner McDougal threw 30 pitches the other day in the first inning. And I was thinking, yeah, this is going to be disappointing. I'm going to get out here and watch him, blow his pitch limit in the first inning or, 1.1. He's not even going to get 2. And man, he pounded the zone. He threw like 76% strikes, 22 of 29, 5 slider in his 2-seamer, and they couldn't touch him. They had a Double-A kid there on rehab too that led the high A team in home runs last year, and he struck him out swinging. So he looked really good, and he's going to be going Friday, and I can't wait to see what he does on the encore.
Hey,
So,
Dan,
go ahead, Gonzo.
I saw in your interview a couple days later that with Noah, I forgot who on your squad did the interview with him, but he said that he was mostly throwing that 2-seamer. And I know Slavko told me that, it was mostly high. He thought it was pretty straight, but what could you tell out of the movement out of that 2-seamer? Because I know that's something that he really has been more focused on than that 4-seamer prior in high school. But what can you tell us about that movement, the 2-seamer, before you even ask about changeup and slider?
I have to admit, looking at the highlights, it didn't look like he had a lot of movement, but I know that his movement is absurd. If you looked at the highlights on White Sox Daily and saw the strikeout pitches, they looked pretty flat. Mm-hmm. But obviously there was something to them because no one was touching him. Period. But analytically, when he throws his 2-seamer, the pitch tracks over at the ballpark, the Rapsodo machine and all that whatnot, it thinks that his right-handed slider, it moves so much, and this is a left-handed 2-seamer with arm side, and the pitch tracker thinks it's a right-handed slider because it's moving so hard, and he's got nasty movement on everything. His slider is 3,000 plus RPMs as well, and it's off the chain. They said that when he got to spring training, he got there early, and I guess he pitched a couple at bats to major leaguers, and they said that he struck out two of the four major leaguers that he had faced, and one of them came away saying that it was the best slider he'd seen since he got in the major leagues.
Wow.
And to do a little follow up onto that, it's kind of confusing because on Twitter I saw during the game of it, he was saying how he was focusing more on the changeups, but then in the interview he said that it was actually the sliders, not changeups on the off speed. Can you straighten that out for us during what you saw in the game?
Yeah, he threw one slider or one changeup the whole time. It was just two seam and slider.
Okay, yeah, because I know that when he was drafted, the talk was all about the slider and two seam, and that he was working on the changeup. So I was really hoping to see that changeup more, see if he has that third pitch or not.
I was told he does. As a matter of fact, his coach told me that he thought his change could get to be as good as a slider.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to hear that the arm side run on the fastball is there. It certainly didn't translate, and maybe it's just the angle. Minor league baseball video is obviously so hard to judge pitching, especially off of. But the fastball from those highlights looked very straight. He didn't get the tilt that you would expect, I guess, out of someone who's 6'9". But it's good to know that there is that arm side run. Was he kind of sitting 96? Did he top out any higher than that? Velocity, what did it look like for all three?
He was 95 to 97, and then he threw his slider. It was pretty consistently 82.
Oh wow, it's a big. So it's definitely got more horizontal movement than like a Dylan Cease kind of vertical movement.
Yeah, it seems to be more like a curveball kind of break than it is for a sweeper.
Like a little Shane McClanahan type.
Griffo would like that horizontal movement comment. So here, I'm going to be honest. Let's keep it real. When is he going to be calling up? When is he coming up? If he's that great. I'm just saying, you got bullets, baby. I'm just saying you only got so many bullets in that arm, and obviously he doesn't have college. So we're talking horizontal. We're talking all these amazing terms, and it's all reads big league stuff. When is he coming up? And meaning, are they going to hold him up because it's the White Sox? And if he was in another organization, he already would be ready to be big league ready. What's his time frame for Noah Schultz? Or is it going to be in this window or in the third window or second window? Which window are we looking for to see Noah Schultz in a big league uniform as a starting pitcher?
Third window?
Third window could be in 4 years.
His coach is saying that he thinks he can get big league hitters out today.
Yeah, with this stuff that you guys are talking about so number one, I like the fact that I did not know that JJ Lally has scouted him. So JJ is a very good scout. He doesn't tend to get excited about a lot of guys. So I have a lot of faith in JJ Lally. Probably one of the smartest guys in the White Sox organization. That's probably the furthest away from the front office, meaning the decision making these days. Very good at his job. But if he's from all these numbers that you're sharing, that's big league stuff. So he's going to get big league guys out with this sort of thing. So how close is he?
Well, with the arm strain, they're going to baby him. I mean, he's on a very limited pitch count. They're going to want to build up a workload. Otherwise, even if he could get guys out right now in the big leagues as a 19-year-old, do we really want to pigeonhole a potential ace starter and put him in the bullpen right now? It's not like we're winning the World Series this year.
No, I agree.
How do you know?
Well,
hey, they're only 4.5 games out.
There's only 4.5. No, so here's the thing, though. So if it's more of a workload, let's get the innings in. We hopefully see that in the minor leagues because the age, I don't care. Alex Fernandez, Jason Beret. Look at
that's not Major League Baseball now.
Correct. I'm just saying, Gonzo. You can go Google those guys. Those guys were prospects, meaning 19 to 22 years old. Scott Radinsky out of the bullpen. They were less than 3 years in the minor leagues. They came up and very effective. We've seen it with guys in other organizations. So with the White Sox saying, if that's his plan, meaning he's got big league stuff, but he needs the innings to build up the stamina on that makes perfect sense because we want to build him as a starter. So that being said is when we see the games, we want to see inning consumption and him getting stronger and being able to do that. So again, at least that makes sense from what you're saying, meaning he needs that kind of build up because obviously he's coming off of the injury and whatnot. So from what you're saying, just from that, I'm going to say 2 years till he's in the big league uniform as a starter, if he's this good.
Well, I'll know on Friday if he follows it up with as great of a start. And it's against the Cleveland team, and they're kind of short on prospect wealth, so he might be able to mull over these guys too.
Do you know what his pitch limit is going to be? Like, what is there any sort of plan that you've heard for him this season? Is it get out to 50 pitches? Is it, just try to get 60 innings in total this year? What's the plan for him?
No idea. They keep that stuff very cloak and dagger. You just hear rumblings here and there. But my gut feeling is that he'll be somewhere around 35, 40 pitches this time out, and they'll probably work him up to 50. That's what Jorge Vera was on a 50 pitch count limit for most of his early starts last year, and seems like it could be a similar plan for Schultz.
Hey, Dan, I want to stay there on Kannapolis. Can you talk about, well, we'll start with the hitters with Tim Elko and
Jesus Christ, Gonzo.
A guy like, hold on.
I'm logging out.
A guy like Brian Ramos. I want to hear your thoughts, because I saw Brian Ramos in spring training versus the Padres, and he probably had some of the best at-bats versus Blake Snell. Really disciplined through the zone with his barrel. Can you talk to us about those two hitters?
I like Brian Ramos a lot. He looked really good when he was in Kannapolis, and then he got even better. He stayed stateside, in the off season, and he worked out all winter long. And man, when he got to Winston last year, he was a house on fire. I think he hit almost 400 in April, and it cut his Ks, and he's got big power. He's got a lot of pop. And even his defense is pretty good. It's not as iffy as I thought it was going to be. Because when he was in Kannapolis, he was a 19-year-old, maybe was he might have been 20, but he was out there playing, and I'm like, why are they making this kid the primary DH? He was primary DH for like the first month of the year, and I'm thinking he must just have a lead glove to be primary DH as a 19-year-old prospect. But now he's pretty good. He can play some third base, and he's definitely got some juice in the bat.
What's his comp? Is he better in the minor leagues than Moncada? Doubt it.
No, nobody.
Moncada
was a stud. Man.
That's what I'm saying, though. So comparison-wise, again, what's his comp? Because he looks a little thicker. Meaning, is it third base? Is it second base? Because Colas is a future DH already, even though they have him in right field. He's a future DH or first baseman from his body composition. So what's the comp on Brian Ramos?
You know what? I don't even have a comp on Ramos. I really don't.
He looks like a Terry Pendleton.
He does have kind of that body, that's for sure. That's a good one. He's got a lot more power than Pendleton. He does.
Really? Okay, that's saying a lot right there. So Brian Ramos, again, how far is he? Second window or third window?
If it wouldn't have been for the injury, I mean, if he could rake it Double-A, he could. I don't think that it would take him long to get to Triple-A and be ready at the doorstep.
Yeah, no. So I know that he has a groin injury. And from what I said, actually, Daniel's going to be news to him on this. So I had a conversation with Kenny, and he was talking about AAA and AA and guys, and he made it clear that the AAA for the Sox is something where they like having their players in there. Which again, so it's something that it's been very clear where the guys are going to AAA. I don't think many guys are going to jump from AA to the big leagues from the comments that he had made that pregame time. So I can see him going in there. So are you talking about that same injury, the groin injury? That's my concern. Anytime there's anything leg related to players, just like we are about the forearm with pitchers, anything that's leg related to players, I get concerned, but I don't know how serious it is. But we're talking about that same injury, right?
I don't know, man. I really don't. He was only in Kannapolis for 1 week on his rehab, and then they shipped him off to Birmingham. So I didn't even get a chance to see him in Kannapolis for his rehab.
Are we going to skip Alco, please?
Yes, we are.
Dan, when we met a couple of years ago on Twitter, we would talk about the game organically, player development. Your humility has been I'm amazed by it and how you've actually taken care of these players and took under your wing a lot of you hosted a lot of the players too. Can you tell me a little bit more about what avenue led you to that? Because I admire it, honestly.
Dude, we really like it. I mean, first, it just came out as I started, talking to the guys because I want to write about them. Because, like I said before the show, Kannapolis didn't have an MILB TV feed. The MLB team stunk. They were losing, 90 or 100 games. It was, the major league roster was populated with a bunch of retreads and quad A players, and I just wanted to talk about the future because it wasn't real exciting to see what we were watching in 35th and Shields. So I started talking to some of the guys, and then got to befriend a couple of them, and then I was talking to some of the season ticket holders that would see me there all the time because at the old Kannapolis ballpark, man, it was 250 or 300 of your best friends watching the game with you every night. It wasn't like, a couple thousand people and you don't recognize everyone. It's like we knew everybody.
Right.
So I started talking to one of the host families, and this lady's been hosting the Latin ball players for years. I mean, she was hosting ball players since they were the Phillies. We're talking 20 years. And, she asked me if I wanted to get in on the host family stuff. So we started doing that. So basically, Major League Baseball pays for their housing now. They built 4 houses for the ball players, and they split the guys up, and there's 6, 7 guys in the house, and they got several bedrooms and whatnot. But what we do is we used to do a booster club dinner every one Sunday a month after a afternoon game. We'd get together with the team and break bread with them and bring in a bunch of food for them. And then when they go on the road, we pack up road bags with a bunch of junk food that they probably shouldn't be eating and stuff that they say is their favorite, and give them some snacks for the road. I used to put Subway gift cards in there because everybody likes Subway, right? that kind of stuff. And then we go see them at when they move up, and we'll take them to dinner and whatnot. So just try to give them a support system away from their families and whatnot.
I'm with Jay here. So when I worked in the minor leagues as even a broadcaster, I stayed with a host family. I was in the Blue Jays A-ball affiliate in Lansing. It's such a cool experience. But I do think there's so much value. You have kids from all kinds of backgrounds, especially in the lower levels. We had Daniel Norris, for instance, 2nd round pick, teenager, became a millionaire. And then we had a closer, and God, I feel like an asshole. His name escapes me. He worked in the factory with his father in the off season just to save a few bucks. And he was the closer for the Lugnuts. He's trying to make it to the big leagues, just like this kid that was drafted in the 2nd round, a teenager who ended up having a 12-year major league career. It's crazy that you basically have to welcome these kids into your life. You don't know what you're getting into, just like they don't know what they're getting into. But so often it seems like it's just a great marriage for everybody involved. And it's really cool for me just to remember some of those things, like you mentioned, the booster dinners and getting everybody together and, the little baggies on the road trips. Minor league baseball, it's not as grueling as it once was. Thankfully, Major League Baseball has figured it out a little bit, and they've given them some more resources. But man, it is a grind, and you're asking teenagers, sometimes guys from all different backgrounds that don't speak the same language, to just get together, and they all have the common goal, but at the same time, they're all kind of fighting each other. It's such an interesting dynamic, and props to you for getting involved in it.
Thanks. I got a good story. I told this one to Ozzy before, but I was telling you about that host family that got me involved in all of this, and their family's been around the Kannapolis team for years. Well, when Ozzy's brother was playing in Kannapolis, Ozzy Sr. went down there to see him play, and this host family's kid was on the field playing one of those games between innings that they like to do. And they give a kid a giant oversized glove, and then they throw a tennis ball, throw him some pop-ups. Well, he runs and he catches the first one, and he catches the second one. He misses the third one. After the game, he approaches Ozzy, and he wants to get an autograph. Now, this kid's 8 years old. And, Ozzy's there, watching this kid and probably talking to somebody from the White Sox organization. And, but he still had the wherewithal to watch this kid on the field. He said, "Hey, I got a question for you." And the kid looks at him, he's all wide-eyed. And he goes, "Why didn't you catch that fucking ball?"
Sounds about right.
And,
wow.
he said, his parents said he looked at us like he couldn't believe that Ozzy just said that to him. They just started cracking up.
Yeah, that's awesome. By the way, Canapolis, where they found a guy named Eduardo Escobar. Only Guillen's best discovery was in Canapolis. Eduardo Escobar never got to play. That's where Eduardo started his journey. Pretty good, pretty good eye on that one.
That was the host family that I'm telling you about. His host family.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great stuff. You know what? I love before here we get into the next round of the reason I like when you write things about minor leagues, and the reason I started following you is it's a lot of people write and talk about minor league baseball in the business, and they've never seen these guys play, and they've only looked at the numbers or the stats. Not only have you seen them play, but you've been around enough where you're getting to talk to the young players and being able to, talk to the coaches and see that part. So when you're writing your stories and you're breaking these guys down, you're really knowing who they are, and you're kind of seeing how they compare within that world of going through the minor league. So that's one of the things I appreciate on that. I'm going to let Gonzo here ask about his other pitching staff. Gonzo is also known as Katz's assistant. He's building these guys for the Cats lab. He wants these guys to all these right-handed 24-year-old guys that he's building for Katz's lab.
Get in the lab.
Yeah.
So Dan, can you tell us? We'll go from low A to high A here with Jonathan Cannon, Addison Coffey, Jared Kelly, and Peyton Ballette. I know that Sox in the early rounds drafted Coffey and Kelly, but I know you'll also give us a name of your own, but could you talk to us about those guys, what you've seen so far from them?
Dude, Jonathan Cannon is going to be a really fast riser. I don't imagine he'll be in high A much longer. He's 6'6". He's right-handed. When they signed him because he threw strikes. He has great pitchability. Fegan wrote a good article for him that was in the Athletic over the weekend, and he's got a 6-pitch mix.
6?
Yeah, he's got 6. That's probably a bit much. Normally, you want to keep like the best 4 and scrap 2 because of movement patterns, and velo bands are probably crossovers some of those pitches. But I'm sure that the organization is helping him muddle through that. But last year when I saw him, he was throwing. Now, mind you, it was after the College World Series, long season, and he gets to, it's kind of culture shock getting to the minor leagues, but he was not throwing particularly hard, maybe 93-ish. But I went and saw him in Asheville this year, and he was up to 97, and he was holding his velo his entire start. So it looks real promising. And he, like I said, he's got pitchability. He's got a strong pitch mix. He pounds the zone. I think he could move really quick and be a contributor, next year, if not even the end of this year.
What about Peyton Pallette? That's the guy that I want to hear about.
Pallette's a small guy, and he's coming back from TJ, so he's also being closely monitored. Fastball, 93 to 95. He throws a really wicked curveball, 12-6 break on it. But he's, they always say after TJ that the last thing to come back is your command, and right now he's struggling through that. His outings are short because he's on a pitch limit, and he hasn't gone long with the pitches that they've given him. But the stuff looks really promising. But he's a small frame guy, and he looks like a little kid. He's got a baby face. He's 21, maybe 22, but he's got a Roy Oswalt build. He's about 6'1", small frame, but got some good stuff. It'll be interesting when they take the training wheels off and he builds some arm strength and gets his command back to see what he can become.
Slav, second to third wave.
Second to third wave for sure.
Sure.
Oh, you mean window?
Like window, yes. I went from windows to wave. But by the way, I just got excited. The Cannon, he's the first guy that you've jumped this whole conversation and said this year or next year so far. So that was actually because I didn't have him. I didn't think that he was that close. So that's good that someone is this close to potentially having an impact in the big league level that's not in the AAA world, which is really good to know.
They got to start moving him. I don't know why they're holding back on him. I mean, obviously, when you're moving the train at the bottom, you got to have movement at the top. So it's difficult. But yeah, I could see him moving really quick.
I like the SEC background too. I mean, that's high quality baseball. Pellette pitched at Arkansas. Cannon was Georgia, right? So that it's high competition and those guys are usually given a long leash. Some of these guys that you're seeing in the College World Series right now in the regionals, like they're throwing 120, 130 pitches, and there's no even thought process of getting those guys out of the game. So there is a little bit of that already. What about Jared Kelly? We've seen the White Sox kind of take chances early in drafts on some high school guys or younger players that they maybe save a little money with some picks here and there, and then they give these big bonuses to a high school guy. Kelly, I know, had some injury issues. It seems like the numbers really have not been there since the White Sox drafted him.
He's your typical young player. He shows flashes. He throws hard. Got a really good changeup. Working on the breaking stuff. I haven't seen him this year, but I saw him several times last season. Just inconsistent with the strike throwing, really, and working on getting that third viable pitch. But he's got potential. When I saw him last year, I figured, and I hate to say it because it's a typical fallback, but if he doesn't make it as a starter, I see him being a high leverage reliever. But I do see him eventually being a major leaguer. He's pretty talented.
Dan, I just want to, every time we talk, we always get into some DJ Gladney talk. What's the latest on my boy?
Dude, DJ, he was having a heck of a year. The wheels have kind of come off lately.
Jay's devastated.
You got me geared up.
He had more RBIs than games for a good long while, and he was hitting bombs like crazy. There's nobody. He hits the ball as hard as anybody in the system. He's a strong kid, man. When I saw him last year, I told his dad that he reminded me of what Mike Rodolfo was at the same age and same level. Super strong. When he hits it, it's just he hits exit velos are off the charts. It looks like he's got to tame the K monster. He's got to stop chasing the slider in the dirt. But he's a young guy, and that's young guys chase the slider in the dirt. And when you watch the MLB team, a lot of them still chase the slider in the dirt.
Luis Robert does it for a lot of money.
Yes, he does.
Hey, Dan, you surprised me in the DM earlier, and I just want to say, are you taking McDougal over really anybody besides Schultz, in low to high A?
Dude, I really like McDougal. That's another one, though, coming off of TJ, and he's trying to find his way as far as throwing strikes. I went and saw him the day after Schultz pitched, and he was bringing it 97 as well. He's got a big frame. Got the Roger Clemens build, the farm boy build. Long, about 6'4", stocky. They said that his pitches have really good analytics as far as movement and spin rates. He was having a hard time landing his breaking stuff when I was there, and he fought, though, which was awesome to see because the White Sox have a limit, a 30-pitch limit in an inning in the minors, and you're out on 31. I don't know if there's an exception if you're on the last out of the inning, but he threw 30 pitches in the first inning. He walked the bases loaded and ended up putting up zeros for the outing, and he went 4. So it was impressive to see. Last year when Norge Vera was on his pitch limit, they were always banking him with runners on and 2 outs, and I was getting agitated because I think sometimes you gotta have that gut check, man. Runners on base, pressure situation. Don't go to the bullpen. Let the kid work through it. But it was good to see McDougal. He picked the guy off base to get out of a little bit of trouble. Then he got through the inning and then went through 4. But he was strong as far, and he kept throwing his stuff. When you walk the first 2 guys and you got the third guy up, it's easy to throw a cream puff and take something off of it because you're not getting the calls or you're not executing. He was still throwing his stuff and still competing, so he was still 96, 97. So yeah,
I love that you say that. It's better for a guy to learn to pitch through adversity in A ball or double A than it is to finally have him do it in the big leagues. And if he fails, that's when you have so many of these young pitchers that start to lose confidence so quickly. I don't belong. Why not have them fail in the minor leagues where you have some insulation and you can let them build up to those good outings?
It's a fine line, man. You don't want them to get buried in the failure, and you don't want them to never experience it either. But one of my favorite scouts in the White Sox organization says that the true test of a guy, he likes to see them fail and see how they respond.
So let's pull back a little bit. Give us a couple names. Like, who are your guys? If you had to place a bet right now on, let's say, two guys who are going to be major leaguers that you think are quality major leaguers, who are the guys in the White Sox system that you're putting your money on?
Well, I'm going to go.
This is all on the record.
I'm going to go with. Now, it's easy to say Colson Montgomery and Noah Schultz. Okay, so let's just take them completely out of the mix.
Love it.
All right. I'm going to go with Jose Rodriguez and Sean Burke.
Oh my God, Gonzo, this is your chance.
Wait.
Popeye the Sailor
Man.
Man.
Time out. Jose Rodriguez, the infielder kid, the Dominican.
Yep.
And he can't play in the infield today in this team, but he's going to be a future MLB. Here we go. Here comes the second wave.
He's third window. He's third window,
maybe. I'm just saying. So that if TA gets moved, then he's the starting shortstop in the future until Montgomery's ready.
Rodriguez is, I think, he'll probably end up at second base. I mean, he plays short, but I think he'll probably end up at second. He just turned 22. He's been out at Birmingham. It's not an injury. He had a kid, and he's spending time with his wife and kid. He should be back, I would think, soon. And I wouldn't worry about. He broke his hamate last year in return, from that injury. He's got 7 home runs already in a very short amount of at bats. Last year, he didn't hit his second home run until he was almost 400 at bats into the season, and then he went on an absolute tear and hit like 11 homers in 20 games to finish up. Before he was on fire. And he doesn't strike out a ton. Now, if you look, his K numbers are up this year too, but they're using that pre-tack baseball in the Southern League. Mm-hmm. And one of the pitchers told me that it's an insane advantage for the pitchers. He said that if any pitcher tells you it's not an advantage, it's because they're delusional and they just don't want to accept they're not as good as that ball is helping them be. It increases their spin rates. It increases their movement. It's supposed to increase their command, but I see walks seem to be up too. But I wouldn't worry about the low batting average or the strikeouts for Rodriguez because after they get rid of that ball at the halfway point of the season, I think his numbers will come back in line.
I want to see him in winter ball. He had a horrible winter ball last year. He played very little, and I want to see him one more year winter ball to see how promising it'll be. I have a question though. So you've obviously are a little bit of old school, but you know the new analytics very well. So what numbers from the old school do you still give credit to, and what numbers do you look at from the new wave when you're looking at prospects and guys in the minor leagues? What are your go-to statistics that you're like that you favor?
I'm a radar gun junkie, which is wrong because I mean so many scouts are old school and they always emphasize pitchability, but I always prefer it. Well,
of course, you can throw 99. You can't teach that. You can teach somebody's strikes.
I always go with the old adage that you can make a lot more mistakes at 96 than you can at 90. So I'm kind of a radar gun junkie, but I'm big on exit velo. I'm not sold on spin rates. I mean, I know that they seem to correlate with success, but when you think about it, 3,000 RPM pitch versus a 2,000 RPM pitch, that's revolutions per minute. It doesn't take a ball a minute to get there. So we're talking about this is one more turn of a baseball. How much of a difference can it actually mean? Because some people really spank it over the RPMs and the spin rates. And I don't know, man, 1.5 turns of a baseball between home plate and the mound doesn't seem like a tremendous big deal to me. I like guys that throw a lot of strikes. I look at swinging strikes, and I like to look at strike percentage. But of course, it's going to be higher at the lower levels because guys chase at the lower levels like they don't do as they get higher. So it's kind of a fine line.
Love it. Thank you.
All right, Gonzo said he was going to fire me if I don't ask this question. So 2 more guys that we wanted to hit on: Christian Mena, Declan Cronin. What you got?
Dude, I love Declan Cronin because he is a late round grinder, man. And the dude's a workaholic. He's in great shape. Someone showed me a video of him where he was doing squats and he had the whole rack full and he didn't have any room to put any more weight on it. So he had the damn 10-pounder in his mouth. And but yeah, he's in great shape. He's a late round grinder. His pitches, man, this is a guy that has great analytics as well. You know, when we're talking about all the spin rate stuff. He's on a heater at Charlotte. He threw 2 more scoreless innings tonight, and I tweeted last week or this weekend about how he was on a roll. I think that he could contribute in the Chicago bullpen this year.
So he's got a 3.16 ERA, 22 appearances this year, 25 2/3, 21 strikeouts, solid numbers. 36th round pick out of Holy Cross.
Wins, though, OJ.
By the way, if he was on any other team, he already would have been called up. By the way, probably Anaheim brought a guy up that was ERA was at 7.0. Okay, and he brought him up and he threw 99 in the big leagues, and again, Double-A to the big leagues.
Oh, you're talking about
that was Joyce.
Ben Joyce?
Yeah, Ben Joyce. That's a different.
I'm just saying
he's a monster.
I'm just saying what. Okay, so what is this kid? Daniel just said that this guy is a 39th round absolute beast grinder. Okay, that is showing you numbers in AAA that are sustainable to say, let's see what this guy has in the big leagues. You're not going to know if he's going to get guys in the big leagues out until he's in the big leagues. So what are you saving him for? So when he gets older, like that guy's a guy that is a win-win for you. It's such a late round. And even if he pitches well and other teams see him, then you can possibly move him if he's not in your future plans. So you can't hold guys in AAA and try to save them forever. And this is why when you look at guys like that, this is what concerns you about the White Sox. Because Daniel's talked about a lot of good arms. Did you really have to go spend half of your budget on bullpen arms? That's the part where I'm like looking at it and saying, well, I haven't heard about this kid. Like, you know, you look at the numbers and they're pretty good. And, you know, where he's pitching is a shoebox. Every ball that's hit in the air is a home run. So, you know, the defense is worse than in the big leagues. So those are the types of guys that I'm like, how come that guy didn't get called up, you know, to the big leagues? Like Mike Rodolfo and Daniel and I have talked about it. How come he never got a shot to come up and play for a little bit in the big leagues and see if it was like he could play in the minor leagues? Let's see what he has in the big leagues. So I never understood that of holding a guy like he's not MLB ready. We don't know that until he comes up.
The only thing I can see from his numbers is that, you know, the walks are still a little bit high, 144 whip, 14 walks and 25 2/3. Have you seen much from him, Daniel, as far as control improving over the course of this season?
Look at his game logs. There's a clear line. I think it's about his 4th or 5th game. You know, he got racked a couple times early, and I think that if you look at your baseball reference page and look at the last several outings since, you can see the clear line, and you can check that strike percentage there. But Ozzie nailed it on the head too about pitching in Charlotte. You can't hold anything about an ERA against a guy from Charlotte, man. Anything that hit in the air is going to go out, and then the damn grass is so short in the infield that anything with any kind of velocity that's a ground ball is going to get through the hit too. It's really rough, and it's rough on both sides, fly balls and grounders at Charlotte.
Well, Daniel, we're going to go put all of our money on Jonathan Cannon and Jose Rodriguez to be rookies of the year next year. No pressure or anything on you.
No pressure.
Thank you for joining us, man. Any other final thoughts you had? Any guys that you want to talk about that you really love that we didn't talk about? We're running out of players.
I would be disappointed if I didn't mention my guy Lane Ramsey. You guys probably saw him in spring training. You know, he's 6'8", 6'9", throws almost 100 miles an hour. Good slider, hard worker. He can get there. He's the closer in Charlotte. He has these blow-ups, and then he puts together a string, and then he has a blow-up. But he's impressive, man. I really like him. I like his stuff. He needs to throw, you know, a little bit higher strike percentage, but I think that he could be a surprise high leverage type reliever.
Okay, Lane Ramsey. Daniel, where can people follow you? Where can they read your stuff? Where can they consume all of your wonderful minor league content?
I write for White Sox Daily, and I write for Prospects 1500, and then I'm on Twitter at SlyDano70.
Daniel, thank you for joining us. You are the man. We'll definitely have you back on. Second half of the season, we should catch up after the All-Star break, see what happens in the first half. And after the trade deadline, we might be talking about some of these guys either in different organizations or potentially with the White Sox. So thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks,
You
Dan.
too. All right, that was Daniel Victor. That was great insight from him.
That was sweet.
So Jonathan Canyon, that's the guy, Junior, that that's the one that you love the most out of everyone we talked about there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, again, when we're talking about windows and our guys ready, he was
You like
very
the fast
honest.
risers.
Well, I just think that you don't have to. You're not going to have so many. I love the fact that he was very honest and he understands the minor league system very well. That he was very honest with like the Noah Schultz and the guys that are coming back from like TJs and saying that they're in a pitch limit and that it's going to take them a little bit longer because he's being realistic. And that's the part where in the minor league system, I don't know what they do now, but in good front offices, they have a team and your team's there for, you don't let players see it, but you have like your team for the next 5 years, at least till where your contract is up. And you're projecting and saying, hey, I'm not going to sign bullpen guys because I'm projecting for A, B, and C to be here and C, D, and E. So when I'm talking about windows is like, okay, who can help this year? Because if you're going to go in, and this is going to go into like what we were talking about earlier, do you have an arm in the minor leagues that you think that if you move a guy like Gio, that you might be able to replace him with one or two arms? Or if you move a couple guys in the bullpen that are high leverage guys, can you bring in a couple guys from the minor leagues that are not going to be complete disasters and kind of hold you over and kind of find a way of the division's not going to get better, guys. The division's not going to go and improve overnight. So I think the Sox can compete in the division and not having the payroll that the Texas Rangers need to have or that the San Diego Padres need to have. That's the part where people need to realize of like what they're competing against. And then once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. That's a different conversation. But again, I think the Sox, those are all things that people need to start taking into consideration, especially Pedro. I hope that he's like paying attention to his minor leagues and seeing what guys he can bring up. Because there's a lot more promising guys at the end there that I thought are going to be ready a lot sooner than I thought they were.
All right, speaking of Pedro Grifol, let's get into the man that has not been in the lineup lately that should, Jake Berger. This is now the Grifol's grounds.
I don't have a problem making decisions. I don't have a problem making a call on a pitcher. I don't have a problem making a call on whatever our team needs at this particular moment.
I can't get over how loud Ozzie Jr. just shuffles papers in front of his microphone.
The men got a 3-subject notebook on the pod tonight.
Let's see it again. Let's see it again, Junior. Free Jake. Jake Berger, for some reason, was not in the White Sox lineup today against the Yankees. A lot of people were saying Clark Schmidt really good against righties and lefties crush them. Well, Clark Schmidt gave up 2 freaking bombs to Sebi Zavala. So I think if Sebi Zavala can do it, Jake Berger can do it. I'm
not gonna lie. Not to cut you off. I'm a Yohan Moncada stan, right? I want to see Yohan Moncada at third base. Why the fuck doesn't Pedro Grifol make sure that Jake Berger's in the lineup every day? Why?
Pedro's job right now is how am I getting Berger in the lineup? Okay?
That should be his number one priority.
His job priority is like, okay, I'm going to mix playing time, but it's like, how am I getting Berger? Third base, second base, DH, left field, right field, however you're going to get him, you need to keep him in the lineup. My biggest issue, and I texted Gonzo about this in the group chat, how can you tell me a guy is analytically bad against a pitcher he's never faced? Did we look at minor league numbers? Because guess what? The guy that he took deep, that he hit the grand slam out of, the guy from Detroit, he basically said, I faced Berger a lot. And people, these idiots on Twitter were like, where has he faced him? Well, geniuses, they've been playing minor league baseball their whole lives. So he obviously you're facing each other just in a different stadium with a different league in it. So there's guys that Berger has hit right-handers before. So to pigeonhole him so early in his career when he is playing this well and saying, well, he's not good against righties and he's not good on the road. We don't know that. And that's the part where I wouldn't have been as upset that he didn't start today. Had he played against the Detroit Tigers, that series, he didn't. Like he came off.
He had 6 at bats in the 3-game series.
And what did he do in those 6 at bats?
Pinch hit twice. Well, he had 1 hit. It was just the grand slam, but it was a big hit.
But Slav, you know what's hard, and people don't realize this, when you're not playing that many games, and then they tell you and go, "Hey, go start," and he's not in a point in his career where he can just go in and come off the bench every other day and be able to come in and produce. Like what he's doing right now is not sustainable. Like he needs his shot. And the part that frustrates me with Pedro is everyone in the White Sox organization has had a free reign of like, go ahead and play, go ahead and suck. And from my guy Moncada to TA to everybody else down the list, go out and fail. Except Jake Berger. Like who did Jake Berger date or before he was married? What did he steal in the clubhouse? Jake Berger, that's why I say free Jake Berger. He's the only guy on the roster that is treated differently. They look at stats when he comes to play. They look at his defense when it comes to making a decision.
The splits.
No, the only person they look at stats is with Jake Berger, because if they look at other players' stats, they wouldn't be playing. They wouldn't be on the roster. But it only comes and happens to Jake Berger. Why? Jake Berger is like the black sheep of the Chicago White Sox. Everyone else gets a shot except him.
I was under the impression that with Pedro Grifol being introduced as the manager, he was going to reward hard work. Who works harder than Jake Berger? Nobody had to work harder.
He's a first-round pick, guys. He's a first-round dude. Jake Berger did not make camp, did not break camp with the team, and now he is literally on the ballot.
He is the team.
I'm saying though, he's on the ballot to be in the All-Star game as a designated hitter. Yet they don't play him, and that's where I don't correlate. Of Jake deserves, had he not played for his spot and not playing this well. And I know that he cannot be the everyday third baseman because Moncada is there in his defense and money and contract and a whole other skew of situations, but he needs to play as much as he can and be in the lineup so that when he fails, you can say, hey, in 300 at bats, you hit 110 versus right-handers. And this is why we're benching you versus right-handed pitching. And this is the moment to do it because Jake Berger is going to be here, guys, for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Unless you're going to trade him, which right now does not seem like he's the guy. Well, why would you trade him? He's playing for free.
Yeah, in a part of your mini rebuild where you're trying to be less expensive, you want this cheap production. Jake Berger is everything you're looking for in a baseball player right now on your fucking bench, dying
because he lacks the swagger. He is boring.
Yeah.
But his slugging percentage is almost equivalent to Andrew Benintendi's OPS. He's second on the team in homers and RBIs in almost half the plate appearances of Luis Robert. He has one less home run and one less RBI. So there's no reason for him not to be getting consistent at bats. If you can find a way to get Sebi Zavala in the lineup because of his catching, you can find a way to get Jake Berger in the lineup because of his bat, because your offense sucks.
If Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets have played the outfield, Jake Berger being in right field or left field or one of them would not be that wild. Or putting him at second base. Okay, Roberto Alomar is not covering the position, or switching him at third for Moncada and letting Moncada, like doing whatever it is that you have to do. I just believe that one of Pedro's number one jobs today, and where I think that he is not doing a great job with, is with the Jake Berger playing time. I really, and also he should be fighting for Jake Berger because guess what? That's his guy. He broke into the big leagues with him. That's his future. Berger, Sheets, Vaughn. That's his future. Those are guys that I don't think, if he's worried about keeping guys like happy about Moncada and keeping guys that might not be here, or your job is going to be that much harder because these guys, if they keep playing this way, this is the hardest thing for a manager. When a guy is putting himself in the lineup every day based on production, based on him being able to produce and keep himself. I feel bad for Jake Berger because at first I was like, okay, he's kind of cool. Like he's had a couple good weeks. He is the man right now, and he deserves to be in the lineup just like he deserved. Because I said, oh, well, he didn't make the team out of spring training because maybe he didn't deserve it. There was guys that outplayed him. Colas took his job because Colas kind of earned the spot. Jake's earned it now that he's been in the big leagues, and he deserves to keep playing as much as possible.
Sick.
I mean,
If you actually look at the All-Star ballot for designated hitter, I believe it's really just Berger and Ohtani. And believe it or not, I believe Berger's OPS is higher than Ohtani's.
I like how you just casually put like, oh, it's Berger and Ohtani. Like, then what?
But I'm just
looking at designated hitters.
Who are the All-Stars? Who are the All-Stars right now? Like, let's make a short list of guys that deserve.
I'm not doing this.
I'm just saying, though, Berger's on there. I think Berger's on everyone's list.
Guys on the White Sox that
on
deserve
the White
to
Sox,
be?
I'm just saying, like, if you had to pick, like, let's pick your top 3 guys that you think are deemed worthy of being in the All-Star game.
Probably Robert Giolito Berger.
Berger makes the list.
Vaughn's
I don't think
there too.
God, no, he's not.
He leads the
On
AL
the White Sox,
ribbies
you think I would be like Kelly,
for
Giolito.
first baseman.
He's hitting 253.
Yeah, but he's also leading the AL first baseman in ribbies.
Because I think Joe Kelly,
He's not an All-Star this year.
Kelly,
He had a much
Vaughn's
better
not
case
making
last
that
year.
He's not making All-Star team.
Well, I think he gets invited to Seattle for the home run derby. That's a whole.
Robert and Berger are the only 2 guys that even sniff the All-Star game right now. Because
Correct.
you don't
That's
have
on the
you don't
offensive
have
side.
anybody
Are you
that's
saying-
got enough saves.
Are you saying
And-
starters or even period?
No, I'm just talking about anybody. On the
Period.
roster.
White Sox.
Well, you have to.
Yeah,
you have
I
to have
think
sense.
There's no
on
pitcher on the
there.
White Sox right now that is sniffing an All-Star game.
Not even Lucas.
No, his ERA is like 3.99. Like
No,
he's 5-4.
3.75
It went down that much today.
and dropping.
3.75. That's still not an All-Star.
Not yet.
And
So then it goes to the offensive guys. So it's between Pantera and Berger then.
I think Robert's probably the only guy that actually will make it. I just don't think Berger, if he gets enough plate appearances, I think he has
That's what
a
I'm saying.
chance.
But he's in the conversation. So Pedro's job, again, we're focusing on Pedro. Is he has a very hard time right now getting guys in the mix. It's only going to get tougher. He needs to let them know what's going to happen with Jake Berger because the fans are now asking where the hell's Jake because he is fun to watch. He's also, by the way, he's also a very Chicago type of player. The way that he looks, the way that he goes about his business in the plate, the way that he grinds everything out. Chicago White Sox fans love that. They love guys that get dirty. They love guys that play hard nose. We heard Ozzie Guillen talking about it in the post-game show tonight. They love guys like that. College type players that are grind. Yoan Moncada can be an MVP, and there's people that are still going to be hating on him because Chicago does not like that type of player. Too much swag, looks too good, makes stuff look easy. They're more lean to the Berger type guys. So if he plays a little bit well, he will be a fan favorite for sure.
Hey, I want to add some fire here because why can't we put Berger or not this one? Sorry, this one.
Jesus.
Why can't we put Berger at third base and give Moncada some competition that he hasn't had since he's been up here in the big
because
leagues?
he's making $20 million plus.
Okay.
You don't want him in the number one. He's making $20 million plus. The Chicago White Sox do not have the gonads, the manhood to tell a guy like that you're benched, because they'll be scared of what.
Oh, the
what
Blue Jays. The Blue Jays just sent
But again,
Manoa.
the Blue Jays. Again, the
I
Blue
know, but
Jays.
you have to have some accountability. Like you were the
Well, they're
first
not
one
gonna
that
do it,
said
though.
that.
By the way,
Robert,
you guys couldn't make Abreu the DH. You guys couldn't tell Abreu, hey, we want you to DH and not play first, so Andrew can play first. But Abreu wanted to be in the lineup every day with a glove in his hand. But you
my
couldn't do that
question
last
is,
year.
should they? Should you?
Should they? They should do a lot of things. I said move Moncada back to second and solve the problem. Say, hey, you're gonna go play second. Why? Because I pay you. Oh, he's gonna be horrible at it. Well, we'll find out. Just move him.
I mean, he was horrible at it when they tried him the first time at second, but
So you have two choices: either play Berger at second, he's horrible, or play Moncada at second, he's horrible. So then just leave Moncada at third and play Berger at second. Like,
Why can't we?
I've been saying that all year.
I would rather see Jake Berger in right field than at second base, to be honest.
He's a
It's another
natural
situation.
infielder, so like let him just be on the infield.
yeah, the Achilles,
I know
the
we
foot,
think
the running. Yeah,
we
the
think like,
running-
oh, just stash him in the corner outfield. They'll hide him.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has that not worked for the White Sox
yeah,
with
when they
Vaughn
hit the ball,
and Sheets
when
in
you
the
make an
corner
error
outfield?
in the right field, that's usually a triple. In the infield is just a runner on first. Let's look for the double play.
That's actually a great point.
Yeah, I would take him at second before I would take him in the outfield. And again, futuristic wise, if there's not a spot for him and you can make this roster better because there's a team that really wants him, and you get the Dodgers say, hey, we want Giolito and a guy named Jake Berger. You package him and then get what the positions that you need in return. They're obsessed with all these first baseman corner guys thinking that they're going to get an EH like it's a softball league, and they're not. They're not going to get an extra hitter. They literally think they plan to get an EH because Oscar Colas is a future first baseman, another corner guy. It's another EH that they need to.
Can we
figure
get
out
Billy Hamilton to play like short center?
Yeah, plays
Like
short
in
center.
softball?
Again, the reason that Billy Hamilton on this team is a plus is because he can pinch run and do things for other guys. By the way, that's one thing on Berger. He runs pretty well, so he's not a complete liability.
He runs
when it comes to
hard.
He runs hard. He runs well. Again, I don't understand. I know that you're 4.5 games out playing very bad baseball. Why not try Berger right now at second base and see what happens? Like every day he's out there taking ground balls. Why are you just testing it out? Like just go make it happen. Your shortstop, who's an everyday shortstop, makes errors to lose a game on a consistent basis. Who cares if the guy at second does it? So it's like you need to get away. Like right now, it's going to keep it being an issue in the lineup unless you find a way to get him in.
Yeah, at the very least, Sheets shouldn't be taking at bats over Berger at the very least, like he did tonight.
Oh, he will.
Playing.
He's a lefty.
Yeah, that's not a
shouldn't be-
fair comparison.
But out of the guys that that are out there with Eloy, Sheets, Berger for DH and right field, Sheets, even being a lefty, shouldn't be taking at bats away from Berger, especially when Berger has his success over the right-handed pitchers.
They like Sheets
So-
more than they like Berger. Is what I'm saying. I think they like Sheets more than they like Berger. They like Sheets' makeup. They like Sheets' maturity at the plate. They like Sheets more. Maybe they like.
He's
Sheets
the
because
only
he looks
lefty
better.
power bat they have.
Yeah.
Like that's really
Especially
all
with Grandal getting less and less at bats too. I mean, after Sheets, it's what you got left? Benintendi, really?
And Mancada.
No power on both those guys. They're not power guys.
Well, Mancada hit that one home run earlier in the year.
He'll hit 12 to
against
15.
the Cubs 5 years ago. Yeah, that was a good time.
You'll hit Moncada will hit 12 to 15 just because you thought that you were buying a Ferrari and you were sold a Range Rover, but you thought you were getting a Ferrari. Does not mean that he's a bad player. You
I
guys
think
are
Moncada's
getting.
like a Toyota Camry
Oh, really?
XLE.
Okay.
You know what
What
pisses
I'm-
me off? All
what
these
I'm-
guys are going to have better numbers when they're not with the White Sox. Like Moncada, wherever he ends up after he's not with the White Sox anymore, I guarantee you he's going to put up an
2019 all over
880
again.
OPS. Yeah, it's just going to be stupid. But, I mean, that's like I said, I tweeted earlier, the sky above Yankee Stadium. I was like, don't worry about it, guys. That's just a black cloud that follows over the White Sox.
I seen that on Twitter, and they won after that. After you tweeted that too.
Yeah, so I should tweet it again tomorrow. All right, so a non-black cloud, like the opposite of a black cloud. Liam Hendriks back with the White Sox. This guy just beats non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in like 4.5 months. Comes back to the major leagues. And after 3 outings, Pedro Grifol says, fuck it. You're our closer again. Here you go, Yankee Stadium. Close it out. 1-run ball game. And he did it. It was a 2-run ball game. Josh Donaldson hit a dinger off of him.
That's
That
normal, though.
bastard. And then
So
Hendricks
a
gets
week-
a save.
A week ago today was his first day back, and
And it shouldn't have been.
And Grifol brought him into the 7th inning. He gives up 2 runs, and a tied ball game. Sox lose 6-4. His first day back, they put him in that high leverage situation. Tie ball game in the 7th.
The high leverage situation. I don't think that it was the right spot to bring him back in because, again, I think that it was just a hard position. He's a guy that's very emotional. So his pump level was, and he's talked about, I need to hone my emotions. So his emotions must have been like through the roof. Anyone in the White Sox has ever second guessed the manhood or the balls, the cojones of the Hendricks family after seeing his wife in the stands and him I talked to my uncle Scott Radinsky, who battled the same thing that he just did. Again, this was more than 15 years ago when he went through his battle. And obviously medicine's a lot better today, but he was talking about the mental aspect that even once you're cured, he was like, I did not want to be anywhere near baseball, or like it was just such an afterthought for me. I want to be with my family and kind of just chill out. For him to be out there in a big league baseball game, pitching for a team that's supposed to be winning in a high leverage situation and just being so upfront about everything is just mind blowing. I didn't have him coming back till like next spring training, guys. Straight up. I was like, I scratched him out of my head and I was like, he's back next spring training. He's done for the year. So the fact that he is back, the only thing I think that kind of worked out for Pedro in bringing him in against Anaheim is the fact that now bringing him in New York, you got it out of the way. It's like he's back to closing the home run. That's how he usually closes, gives up one run, strikes out the side. He's not usually a very clean inning guy, but he gets it done. And I'll tell you this much, there's a lot of scouts out there salivating when he came out to close versus the Yankees in Yankee Stadiums. A lot of reports went out today of saying this guy's back. If his health is there, meaning his health, non-baseball side, this guy's ready and we can make a move for him. So they're going to be getting a lot of calls on Liam. And why wouldn't Pedro Grifol make him the closer? There's no one. Liam Hendriks gave in 4 months of the season saying, take my job. He basically said, take my job. My job is up for grabs. So when I come back, it's hard for me to be back in the position. We go back to the Kimbrough conversation. Should have been Kimbrough, should have been Liam, back to when they were both there. And no one stepped up and took it. Guys pretended that they took it. They were good for 1 or 2 outings and then completely fell off the face of the earth. So he is the guy. It's still his job. And he's going to be the closer because no one could take his job.
I still would have liked to see, like, not the committee approach to it, but have seen Graveman take the closer role going into the season, but they didn't do that. But regardless, I do have to attest to what Slav said with up to point of this week with Liam, because after he got roughed up in that first outing on Saturday in the 9th, he had a clean frame, held the 9th with the tie going into extras, and the Sox win it. And then today he does give up that solo home run, but I mean, that's no surprise with solo shots on Liam because he's been doing that the last 2 years. But for the most part, it looks like his velocity and stuff is up to par for what it's been since prior to cancer. So it's good to see where Liam Hendriks is at right now with bailing back and now taking the closer role as what we've seen for the past 3 outings.
Yeah, I don't taking a look at the home run that Liam gave up tonight. It wasn't a bad pitch. It wasn't like it was a hanging slider. It was 97 in on Josh Donaldson's hand. It was just better. He got beat.
I think he was just sitting on it.
Josh is a good player.
Josh
is a good player.
Yeah,
he's having a shit season.
That's what good players do.
He's hit. I mean, don't.
It's what gets the White Sox. He loves hitting against the White Sox.
Yeah.
He looks over, then he sees softness.
Yeah,
he looks over and he sees marshmallows, and he says, "Oh, I can destroy these guys." That's what he sees.
I'm not going to talk about my team like that.
Well, Josh Donaldson actually does. By the way, Josh Donaldson actually called out your pitcher that was on the mound today, asked him to come off. We don't have to repeat that whole story. Josh Donaldson, your manager that's not been managing for 20 years, who sits in a studio, had to step up and protect the team. It was like you had your 150-year-old brother come and protect you in that fight, which was Ozzie and Donaldson. So yes, Donaldson owns the Sox when it comes to that stuff. So I think that he does play well against them because there is a level of comfort for him with the White Sox.
Wow.
That's the truth. But some players feel good. I'll put Donaldson, Josh Naylor. There's just a list of guys that come play against the Sox that are like, oh, it's the White Sox. What are they going to do to me?
Jose Ramirez.
There's just a level of comfort.
Cabrera.
Yeah, there's just a level of comfort of like, oh, I love coming here. These guys are like, I'm not scared of them. Just like there's guys that come to the Sox that don't do well because they might be scared of the Sox. It just happens. But I think that in New York, okay, one of the hardest ballparks to play in, even when they're not playing well. In New York, the White Sox, when they go there, they know they're playing their big brother. They get pumped up. Players do. It is what it is. High leverage situation. You're going to close out. A guy comes in, hits a home run with no outs. The fact that he was able to hone it in, being his fourth outing back from not pitching, basically, this is like his spring training at this point. he literally did very well. So I thought Pedro did a good job of letting him be there, because he could have gone and said, I'm pulling him out after that home run and, hitting the panic button, but leaving him in and letting him that. And the other thing, guys, when they talk about leaders and the White Sox and the media are trying to look for a leader, and they're like looking for a leader, like it's like, let's find Waldo every week. Look at Liam Hendriks. If you're tired of playing and your legs hurt, look at the guy next to you in the clubhouse. That guy just survived cancer. Okay? Look yourself in the mirror and think, oh, my leg's hurting. Is that worth not playing? This guy just came back. By the way, making a lot of money, and he could have milked it, could have stayed home, gone on fishing trips, enjoyed his life, because again, cancer, life and death, like that's a conversation that no one wants to have. Your whole life probably flashes in front of you. The fact that he wants to come back and play, and by the way, he didn't come back to playing the White Sox up 15 games and, I don't want to be left out. I want to be part of this pennant race. He's like, oh my God, my team sucks. They have no leader. This is a firestorm. Like, he's coming back to a disaster. So for him to want to do that, anyone that's looking for a leader, look at Liam. And he probably should become like the mental toughness coach too, on the side of being the closer. Because a lot of those guys need a lot of that stuff. I'm legitimately being serious. You don't need a guy telling you that he's a leader. Just look over to him and what he's done. That should be enough to get you pumped up.
Last thing on Griffol's grounds before we get into Southside Daily. Couple weird things that happened in the Detroit series over the weekend. There was the game with the 3 wild pitches that scored all the runs. And then the game that Berger hit the walk-off grand slam, 3 straight pinch hitters. But Gonzo wants to talk about his guy, Romy Gonzalez.
You sure it ain't Rami?
I think it might be Rami with 2 M's.
So
It's Rami like Tommy.
So Gonzalez, keeping it easy here.
Yeah.
Gonzalez, last 2 weeks, all right, a lot of rough decisions by Grifol, but I got to highlight Saturday's game because, I know that OJ likes his productive outs. So my boy Gonzalez puts that nicely laid bunt down the third baseline, moves Moncada to second base, which ends up scoring basically Moncada on a pass ball, put him in position to be in that, at third base to score on that pass ball off the umpire's mask. And Moncada walks to the plate because the catcher was trying to help up the umpire. So ultimately, great decision playing small ball baseball by Grifol with all the negativity surrounding him with decisions the past 2 weeks. Saturday's game was a key one because they end up sweeping the Tigers at home. And ultimately, that's going to lead us to the month of June, which is going to be a rough month. But we present to you Southside Daily.
Why is it why'd you say is it a rough month? Did you look at the schedule and get scared?
Well, I just realized that the month of June, everyone's above 500, playing above 500 balls. So you look at the month of May, and they were telling us how, Sox should be rolling here in the month of May with the layout of the schedule, with the opposing opponents being below 500, the majority of them. So, and for the most part, I think the Sox were, 2 games above 500, so they did have
They had a good May compared to a shit April, yeah.
They had a really good May, which helps put them in this position where we're 4.5 out in a terrible division. So, but now that you look at the schedule, you're like, all right, we have a rough month ahead of us. However, you started off with the series on the road, which we've been terrible on the road, but you take game 1 on the road at Yankee Stadium. So now you have to win the series. You got to win one more of 2, OJ, and it's not looking good though, because tomorrow you're going to have Lance Lynn versus Vasquez, which right-handed relief pitchers that are newer to us seems to get the best of us, even though Lance Lynn has been struggling. At least the last start, he was terrible, but he did have 3 starts good prior to that, so maybe he does bounce back. We'll have to see. But Wednesday, Lynn versus Vasquez, and then Thursday is going to be Clevenger versus Severino.
He got shelled by the Dodgers last time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then
Yeah.
you got to think, Gonzo. This is not Lance Lynn facing. This is the Aaron Judge list Yankees team. You got to take advantage of them.
But
I think the Sox might take this series.
You got Stanton.
It's 212 feet down the right field line. Like, I don't know about Lynn in this matchup.
Yeah,
Stanton can hit it further than anyone, too.
Which
so.
I forgot to mention. I mean, if you guys saw that, what was it? The first inning, Stanton was 20 feet from the warning track there on that pitch that he hit off Giolito. I was starting to sweat there because I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to be a good start for Giolito. But we saw what happened with Giolito.
Wrong.
That was
wrong.
Wrong. Wrong.
Wrong.
By the way, how many breaking balls is Lynn? So this is going to be a bad Lynn week. So like we want to fire Lynn this week, not give him the Cy Young. So this is like Lynn sucks.
You saw that tweet? Someone tweeted something about the Lynn and Dane. Like, don't look at Dane Dunning's last 5 starts. And I'm like,
yeah,
God,
I saw you and I shared it. It's literally every week. So Lynn is on the Romy Gonzalez. I'm gonna put them on the list of depends on the week of the year. They either suck or they're amazing. So this week Lynn's gonna be crap according to everybody because he's facing the Yankees and Judge and not Judge list, but Stanton. Again, I think the Sox versus Severino, I think that they can light him up. I really do. I think that Clevenger has not pitched horrible, but I think that the White Sox should have a good offensive day versus Severino just because I don't think he's bringing his little helper. He's not getting help because he knows everybody's watching him and the Yankees. Yeah. He has not pitched well. He's kind of making adjustments. It usually takes you like 2 or 3 starts to adjust on what you were using before if you were using something. So I really think the White Sox I like that matchup against the Severino. I really do.
One key thing I want to talk about with the Yankees is we actually dodged a major bullet. We didn't face Clay Holmes and we didn't face Michael Caine today. So tomorrow going in, best believe the Yankees will probably be ready to deploy them. So we definitely
they're struggling too, guys. Let's be making honest. They're like in 3rd, 4th place. The Orioles are.
You know what the best way to avoid those guys is to have a lead.
Yeah, we're not going to bring them. They're going to waste them. They're not going to waste them. If you have a lead, they're not going to waste them. Aaron Boone does not bring those guys in behind.
I do want to mention
Jimmy Cordero pitched against the White Sox today. I forgot he was still alive.
Jimmy biceps.
Liked it.
Oh,
nice arm. Cordero.
Biceps are out. So I do want to highlight. I know we brought up Stanton, but I also want to highlight Rizzo. Rizzo's slash line is 293, 365, and 484. Pretty impressive slash line. So
he could have been a White Sox.
Yeah, could have been. Ultimately, though, I agree with you, OJ. I think they lose tomorrow and take the series on that Thursday game.
Which means it's going to be the opposite. Lynn is going to pitch a gem, and Severino's going to shut them out.
And here's the thing. And here's the part where we're not counting it. Lynn just has to keep the team close. Don't let it be a blowout. Again, when it comes into the matchups and going down, you cannot. They're 4.5 games out. Them mentally, they could care less if this division sucks. Your banner does not say 2023 Central Division champions. The division sucked. It doesn't say that. It says Central Division champions. That counts. So for them, 4.5 games, and I'm saying this because I know if Ozzy was the manager, meaning that we were invested like he was a manager, believe it. Even though you knew the division sucked, you're trying to win the division because your job is to get into the playoffs and get the playoff little linings on the side and everyone calling your name out to the line and the planes flying over, and it'd be like the 7th playoff the Sox have played in series in my lifetime. So it's not something that you're not the Dodgers going there every single year. So it's a big deal if they make the playoffs. Mind you, are they going to be maybe a little bit less powerful than other teams in the playoffs on wins and losses? Absolutely. But they still need to win the playoffs. This right now, it goes back to the situation that Slav said. If they go off and sell a couple pieces, 4.5 games out, in literally a division where the Tigers just literally lost 5, and they're just going to continue dropping because they're a Cinderella team. But there's no way that team is going to withhold. Yeah. And the only team that can probably withstand this right now is maybe Minnesota, maybe the Tribe, because they've been looking horrible as well. So the Sox, this is a winnable division. So they need to go into every series like they're in it in a division like they were in the East or the West. So I don't think that they should listen to the noise. And I think, by the way, Pedro wins the division, could easily be the manager of the year with the worst division in baseball. Like that's he wants to win a division.
Right.
It looks better for him winning a division than not winning one.
And
You guys are burying the lead, man.
After New York, the Sox come back to home, and they play the Miami Marlins.
Luis Ariz is going to go 19 for 22.
Yep. And before I go into the
Rob Manfred's their
matchups,
player.
you nailed it on the head there, Slav, because Ariz is probably the best contact hitter right now in the league. Because
He's hitting
his slash
401.
line- yeah, his slash line's 401, 450, and 495. So it's crazy slash line. But the matchups Friday is Cease versus Perez. Perez, the rookie right-hander, who's pretty impressive to start, his rookie
Oh,
campaign.
Eury, the tall kid, Mini Sandy, that's going to be a tough one for the Sox.
By the way, I'm going to go on a
hold
limb
up.
and say, go finish it out.
Yeah, I'm going to finish this because Cease,
Got to get the
Perez,
pitching matchups in.
Saturday, Kopech versus Sandy, which is going to be a good one. And then Sunday is going to be Gio versus Garrett, another rookie. And I think they're going to take 2 of 3. Sox are going to take 2 of 3, the first 2.
Oh my God! That's why Gonzo knows nothing about pitching when it comes to teams that are not outside of the White Sox. The easiest pitcher out of those teams right now is Sandy
my
Alcantara. Sandy is the weakest pitcher right now out of all those 3. Those 2 other rookies are probably going to come in to shove.
Gonzo, you don't have to make predictions like when we do this, right? You can just give us the information.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back.
I know, but
since we
I
keep
really
receipts.
think-
No, I want
I
to go
think
back and see how many times you were right.
Not a lot. That's a very dangerous prediction because I know Gonzo does not watch the Miami Marlins. And I know 99.9% of the Chicago White Sox fans don't watch the Marlins. They probably don't even know who's on that roster.
I watch the Marlins.
Okay.
Actually,
You watched a
Marlins-
Marlins game.
By the way, the
watched-
Marlins are not
No,
a bad
I'll
team.
watch it.
They're in a very hard division. They
Yes.
put the ball in play. They have stellar starting pitching.
Sandy has been struggling. I'm not just calling the
Well,
bullshit,
the
but
Marlins bullpen.
I know
has been great, too.
that I know
Like,
how
check their
cold
record
our
in one-run
lineups.
games.
By the way,
I know
Sandy
how
won
cold
the
our
Cy
lineups
Young.
have been.
By the way, Sandy won the Cy Young, and you guys praise the guy that came second runner-up to the Cy Young.
Yeah. Sandy-
Every show, you guys are, and that's my boy Cease. You guys, Cease is gonna shove. Sandy Alcantara is the reigning Cy Young for the National League, and he's been struggling. So meaning the other 2 guys are better right now than
Alek Manoah finished 3rd. Now he's in fucking like rookie league. Like
Correct.
That's just the way it goes.
Correct. So if
Look.
other pitchers on the White Sox played for the Blue Jays, they might. By the way, what league was that? The Florida Complex League. I've never heard of that league before.
It's not even a league. It's just like they basically sent him down to Dunedin to their spring facility.
So, but what it was like a PR thing that gets named to the Florida Complex League. I was confused.
Sandy Alcantara is looking at this next start against the White Sox. He's like, all right, that's my get right game.
Yeah.
And I would put money down that he gets right.
Yeah, it's when Sandy Alcantara looks at the White Sox are there's only 2 teams under them, which are the Kansas City Royals and the Oakland Athletics. I think that for him it's let me find my way versus this offense because this guy's coming from facing the National League East on a weekly basis. Okay.
And me saying that the Sox are winning that game doesn't mean he's not going to do well. I'm just saying it's a tie game going to the bullpens.
Okay.
Well, that's what you
Because
don't want because
Kopech is on
Miami
fire.
has been dominating with their bullpen, like literally.
I will take that bet. Soler takes Kopech deep. Gonna mark that one down.
Who? You said?
National League home run leader, second after Pete Alonso, Jorge Soler.
Pete Alonso's on pace for a lot of homers. All right.
A lot of
Are we?
So
Is that it? What else we got after
we
Miami?
got, Tuesday's game, which is going to be in Dodgers. Lynn versus Syndergaard, so that's an
Lynn gets the Yankees and then he gets the Dodgers.
yeah.
Oh man, this could be
Tough
either.
go.
This is either going to be Lynn's like push to like no one talk about me getting DFA'd, or it's going to be we're going to be talking about this man's weight. Oh man, poor
It's
guy.
okay.
God forbid Dane Dunning threw a 5-inning, 4-run,
Yeah, right? Oh,
outing.
And then
or something.
By the way,
Freeman.
at least he's not getting hurt. I'm going to give him that. At least Lynn is not pretending to get injured like other former White Sox pitchers that would go down against the big boys.
And
At
of
least
course,
he's sticking it out.
Freddie Freeman /line 331, 402, 558.
Hit a grand slam.
No wonder
again
you said.
today,
No
I
wonder
think,
you said
right?
June was a tough one. I forgot about the Dodgers.
Yep.
Oh,
All right, let's wrap tonight's show up with our weekly picks, and I can win again.
I do want to say before we do bets that Juan did remind me that I did win. What was that? Not on the last show, so 2 weeks ago. I was right on my predictions for the schedule, so I need to take some credit while I'm getting slammed. But I do believe Sox are going 4-3 in these 7 games. So, but yes, Slav wins this week
Again.
with his pick of Tim Anderson, because Timmy, all he does is hit singles for the last 2 weeks. So
Don't let King Mac hear you say that.
yeah, don't. Is Mac listening? Is he one of the 4 people? All right, Slav, you win. Timmy's off the board. It's gonna go Tim, Junior, Jay, then me for the picks.
Tim first.
Tim's
No,
off.
You
the
said
Tim's
Tim.
off.
Yeah. No, Tim's off the board. So I have a feeling that Yo Moncada is about to. Junior, that was your guy.
No, I had the same feeling, so you can go with
Go
it.
on.
Okay, yeah, I have a feeling. I don't know. Just looking at some of the pitching matchups coming up, I just have a feeling from the left side, Moncada's about to start swinging it real nice. So that's my pick.
So he's going with Moncada. I wanted to be wild, and I was going to go Lance Lynn.
Against the Yankees and Dodgers, that'd be bold. Bold move, Cotton.
I might give you 10 points if he gets 2 wins versus those 2.
I'm going Lance Lynn.
Wow, okay.
Okay, well, if he goes 6 innings, gives up 7 runs, but the Sox score 12 and he gets a win, that shouldn't count.
You gotta
it
be
counts.
careful about that.
It counts, big boy. I'm taking anything.
Yeah, I know it counts. I'm in first place. You don't have to tell me what counts.
Here
No,
we go.
I'm not gonna go.
Don't let my head get big.
No, you know what? No, I'm not going Lance Lynn. I'm not going Lance Lynn.
Oh, come on.
I'm not.
20 points.
Don't wuss. We'll give you 20 points.
No, the fuck we won't.
No. You know what? I
I'll
would
give
go
you 5.
Lance Lynn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
I'll give you 5 points. Come on, Junior. Take it.
You know what? Let me go with Lance Lynn.
Wow.
All right, no, I'll sign off on that. If Lance Lynn gets 2 wins, regardless of if he pitches well or not, if he gets the win in the Yankees game and the Dodgers game, I'm fine giving him 5 points. 5 pick to click, like 5 weeks of points.
I'm down for that.
Wow. Okay, I gotta take that.
All right, we'll get back to that at the end of your second. What would have been your second? But go ahead, Jay.
Well, I'm actually terrible at this, so I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna go Kendall Graveman. I feel like
Jesus, you're desperate.
No, wait.
I'm going.
Kendall Graveman just gave up every game from the bullpen. Thank you.
Nope. I'm going
Thank you.
Kendall Graveman. He's gonna give us a couple holds. No runs scored. I got a good feeling about our guy, especially with the
I
bullpen
thought you were
more
gonna go
intact.
Semi.
Gosh, even if he throws like 4 innings, like how bad does everyone else have to be of our picks for you to get a point?
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't tell which is better, Clint Frazier pick or the Graveman pick.
I don't even know when's the last time I seen Clint Frazier play.
Hey, he threw a cannon in right field tonight. He's a solid defensive replacement. His arm is better than I remember. Like granted, right field is, like I said, 212 feet or something down the line. He threw a seed home to keep a guy at third base.
Yeah.
And last but not least is me. I'm gonna go with Hi Mom, because Eloy's gonna get hopefully hot. I just think if Giolito's trade value is going up, I need my boy Eloy's value to go up too. So I know he's been hitting a little bit here with some singles, but I'm feeling some power coming the next 2 games here at Yankee Stadium.
And no one ever picks Benintendi. That's messed up.
I wonder
picked him
why.
1 week. I lost.
Damn, why would you pick him? Like Moncada gets picked more than him.
So the picks were, I'll put it back up again for us. Slav is going with Moncada. OJ is going Lance Lynn for the 5 points. Jay's going with Graveman. Hold up, if Graveman does get a W, do we give Jay like 3?
No,
Yeah.
we're past that.
Okay, we're past that. Okay, Gonzo, I'm going with Eloy.
We're not cutting Jay any breaks.
I'm trying.
Let's
Jay is
remind
open.
people of the standings here. I have 4.
Yep.
Junior and Gonzo each have 2. Jay has 1. Who did you win with?
Was it Sheets?
Oh God.
Yeah, I think it was Sheets.
That 1 week that Sheets went off?
Yeah.
Nice. Good for you.
That was probably back in like Tampa.
Do you remember that? That was a good time. Lizette says she's going with Moncada too. Our fan pick to click. She agrees with me.
Is a Moncada stand. She's a
You know
I
what?
have
think
a,
Moncada, I'm scared. I think you're going to win this week again because I think
Yo,
I went with Lynn because I think
I have a
Moncada's gonna
feeling
go off.
some two seamers, some changeups that
and I
run
think
back
that-
over the plate. I think he's going to
New
hit some
York-
mistakes.
Yeah, I like that. I think that a lot of fastball too from those Latinos on him. I can see him going
So-
off.
What do you guys feel 4-3 with me, or you think 3
Shut
and
up,
4?
Gonzo.
Gonzo, you're probably. I'm worried about. Who did you pick?
Eloy.
Eloy's like his trade value. Rick Kahn's just like, we're not gonna be able to move this guy, but Eloy's gonna be here next year just because Gonzo just picked them. This week's completely off for Eloy.
I hope
By the way,
Eloy
this
has
is
a big week.
By the way, this is a big week. If they beat, if they beat,
Huge.
if this is probably the hardest week, meaning from an opponent standpoint, on record and kind of like aura. If if they're able to either advance or get closer than 4.5 or not drop more than 4.5, they're in this race.
Yep.
If they go 4-3 this week, they might be 3 games back in the division with how bad this division is, and they're
absolutely.
4.5 back right now.
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely, like meaning they can, because other teams are going like they're going through their April. Like the Tigers right now, they can't even get an out. The Tribe is not playing well at all. Meaning one day good, one day bad. They can't get consistent. The Twins look like they're struggling a little bit. So them going through this series of like really tough teams, because I think the Marlins are a tough team just because based on like their pitching and in the division that they're in. I think that the Sox this could be a big tell if they're going to stay in it or not. Meaning from moving pieces standpoint, because I don't think they can trade anybody, guys, being less than 4 games out. I'm sorry, that's just way too close. It's got to be more than 7.5, 8 for them to be able to.
Yeah,
sell.
we got to be cooked.
It's got to be more. Rick Hahn is already getting so much.
They did it
pressure.
last year. Didn't they have like a 5-game losing streak or something, like just before the deadline?
That's
They
what I mean,
basically
how many
tanked.
games- So before we completely get off the show, what's the number for you guys to be like, I'm comfortable? Okay, they can trade. We're fine. Like
7 for me.
7.5 for me too. Like you cannot be if you're closer than 7 or 7.5, you cannot sell at that rate. Like you could sell maybe like a reliever, but you can't sell like a piece
But
where
I
you're
thought-
going to be able to go.
I thought we agreed though that you can still sell to retool to be a better team.
But that's what I mean though. Like who you're going to sell off and what you're getting back.
I don't think that they'll have the authorization to do it if they're in that kind of range as far as how far back they
Yeah.
are, because you cannot give this front office like the reins if you're not sure that you're keeping them in the offseason. You can't tell Rick like, all right, go do what you need to do for the deadline if you're not sure that he's actually going to be here to make the moves in the offseason. So
Well,
I think
he'll be here.
more than likely the White Sox, yeah, you're probably right. But I think more than likely the White Sox are going to do something similar to last year, like where they stand pat or, they add a very
Diekman.
marginal.
They
Yeah.
bring Diekman.
Did you see he threw some shade at the White Sox, by the way, when there was some quote about when the Rays come calling, it's like fixing a broken toy or something. Like pitchers love to see it, like compared to other organizations or something. It was just kind of like a slight shot.
He didn't like the
White
lab.
Sox.
He wasn't a big fan of the lab.
The Cats lab. Gonzo mini cats.
Mini cats over here.
And Mr. Positive. So what did we learn in this episode? Noah Schultz is going to be in the big leagues next week.
No, it's not.
Brian Ramos is in the third window.
Elko is
And
the Hall of Famer.
Jonathan Cannon and Jose Rodriguez are rookies of the year next year.
When Kenny Williams Jr. is a GM in
For
5
me,
years, those guys will be in the big
It's
leagues.
only a matter of time.
For me, the biggest part was what OJ said was, why are you spending so much money in the bullpen when you have all these pitchers that you could have tested out to bring up to get whatever value you can out of them, all these young arms. That was the biggest takeaway that has been frustrating me for a couple of years now.
Because you have them, they've been succeeding. Meaning, it's not like you don't have anybody. It's just a question of maybe they don't have. I love guys. Usually, when you have good bullpen arms, it's usually guys that have no names and they build their names and then you get paid later.
Yeah.
I believe I come from the school of thought that you can rebuild the bullpen every single season. More than like position players and the key factors. What I learned is you got to follow him for more info. A guy that not only does he know what he's talking about, but he's actually there. He likes like living it day to day, like looking
He's
at the
on
players.
site.
Yeah, he's on site. Like there's a relationship with these guys. Gets to know these guys personally, which is kind of unique for the writing. So I enjoyed that part of talking to him about it. He has a very cool perspective of like old school and new school of like kind of explaining the numbers and the metrics. And again, I think we're back to 2 weeks ago. We're like, are they in it? Then we got kind of broken down like they're not in it. We're literally on a week by week basis of how this fan base feels about the team. This is the greatest move ever. This is the worst move ever. We love Lance Lynn. We hate Lance Lynn. Pedro Grifol is the manager of the year. Pedro Grifol, is worse than Tony sleeping. We don't know what this team is. And maybe this is a team is good enough to win a division and battle it out. And I'm a person that you need to get into the playoffs in order to get hot in the playoffs and make a run for it. And this team is really good in short spurts. So they need to just fight for that division. And right now at 4.5, trust me, Vegas moved that line. That means they have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, final thoughts? The floor is yours.
I had a great show tonight. To be honest with you, it was fun talking to Dan Victor. I've been knowing him on Twitter for the last couple of years, so it's good to actually get to interact with him. A fun show tonight, to be honest with you, and I can't wait for Kendall Graveman to get me on the board.
So you can follow Daniel Victor, by the way, on Twitter at SlyDano, SLYDANNO 70, SlyDano 70. Great stuff from him tonight. Great show by Jay. Very mediocre from Ozzy and myself. Gonzo was at the top of his game.
Oh, Gonzo was just pure mini
4-3 for the White Sox next week.
By the way, I'm literally going to go watch
it.
minor league baseball now. Like I feel like I was like left out. Mini Cats here was, he had all the 411 on all them.
So thanks everybody in the comments. Thank you for listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Blackout Show Shy CHI. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks for everybody that's been watching with us tonight on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. And next week, we'll be back at it. For Ozzy, for Gonzo, for Jay, for Dan Victor, I'm Slavko Bekovic. Thank you for watching The Blackout Show.